Something happened at Hilary Duff's Utah concert that resonated with so many millennial moms, and it wasn't a song. Many of us grew up watching Lizzie McGuire and listening to Come Clean, and now the same girls are packing diaper bags, juggling careers, and buying tickets to her comeback tour. In the middle of her set on stage in Utah, she said, "Doing stuff that scares us is harder and harder as we get older, and taking chances and breaking cycles is harder and harder as we get older. I just want to say that making this record and you guys accepting it the way that you have and showing up for me the way that you have has proved to me that doing hard things is always worth it. And that does not mean you're going to get it right because we're still figuring out this tour as we go, which has actually made it really fun. If I could just encourage you to do the one thing that has been on your mind, take the leap, take the chance, and do the thing. I think it's really important." I think the reason this speech touched so many people is because we didn't just grow up watching Hillary, we've now grown up with her. Welcome back to the Aiders. Before we dive into today's episode about Hilary Duff, let's start with our weekly glimmers. If you're new here, a glimmer is one of those little moments, people, conversations, books, meals, or experiences that have helped you feel more grounded, a little more joyful, and a little more like yourself this week. One of the reasons we love sharing our glimmers each week is because they remind us that life doesn't have to stop giving us new moments to experience, and it ties in perfect transition for today's episode since we're talking about Hilary Duff and something she said that I think resonates with so many millennial moms, and it's this idea that in adulthood, even motherhood, we're still meant to experience these new firsts. So before we jump into the Hilary Duff of it all and today's conversation, what were some of your glimmers this week, Seb?
We had my baby shower in Utah, which was so fun. Had a lot of family show up and some friends, and my family was all in one place, everyone except Tyler. Yeah, we were all in Utah, so that was so fun because I feel like most people, we weren't really working too much, so, because it was the 24th, and so Zach, our brother, had it off, and I took it off, and then everyone who was visiting wasn't working, so it was just nice to have some time, and we were able to channel with Gabby, which was really cool. Maybe we'll have to do an episode and dive into that a little bit more.
Yeah, we did a channeling episode with all our siblings and our mom.
Yeah.
Which is like the first time we've ever sat down and all talked about
our feelings.
Yeah, all together.
Yeah. So, yeah, that was fun. Just the whole weekend. Like, we had the baby shower, which was just, it's always nice to feel special for a day and have everyone, celebrate you. And one step closer to baby coming. So that's just like a checklist. I'm like going through the big stages. I'm like, okay, I need to do this. And then it's my birthday. And then it's the baby shower and Tyler's birthday. And then it'll be baby time. So, and we went to Splash Summit, which is 7 Peaks for all of us who grew up in Utah. And Starly, she just on her own accord was like, I want to go on the slides. And I was like, oh, okay. And normally she's very timid and like, I don't know if I want to do that. That's really big, or like only if I can do it with you, Mom. But I was like, I can't go on the slide, so you'll have to go with, your aunts and uncles and cousins. And she's like, okay, great. Like, I'm going to do it. And I was like, okay, we're being brave. So that was just fun to see her like step out of her comfort zone. And unfortunately, Sora wasn't quite tall enough. She really wanted to do it. I'm like, I have no hesitation with Sora, though. Once she's tall enough, she will be brave and do it.
Starly is like 47.5 inches, and you had to be 48 inches to do the tallest slides, but she was wanting to do them so bad. And I'm like, we would have been doing them if you were half an inch away. Yeah. I wouldn't have done them with her.
And that would have scared me because I'm like, I don't know if you're heavy enough for like the straight drop down.
Fly off.
Yeah. So I'm glad that she was just too short.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then once everyone left Utah, me and my girls were able to come down to Arizona like the exact same day. So it was nice because my girls were like, I still want to play with my cousins and, I don't want them to leave. And I was like, well, we're following them. So You don't even have to be sad about it.
So we're in person together today. The girls are upstairs playing while we record.
So great. I don't have to have the TV on to entertain them. They're just entertaining themselves.
Yeah.
They do so much better with like a friend or a cousin or something. And then, yeah, the last thing was it was Tyler's birthday yesterday. So we were able to be down here and celebrate him when we weren't sure if we were going to be together for his birthday. So it all worked out.
This was Seb's last time that she's allowed to fly, and she has a very big belly, so we're glad they let her on the plane.
Yeah. I can't really see it in this video, but
You could stand up and show it. And Seb wears this outfit every time we record.
it's one of the 5 that fits, okay? I'm sorry.
Well, yes, one of my glimmers is Sabrina being down here this week so we can spend time together. And then also my best friend Jenna is visiting from North Carolina. She got in the day that I went up to Utah, but she was busy watching her friends' kids the whole week. So then when I came back, then now she's visiting and staying with us. So I get to spend time with her too.
Is she here right now?
No, she's at work. She's in Scottsdale. That's why she stayed longer, because she has her job sites and stuff up in Scottsdale. So, but she got to sit with me last night while I was like doing the outline for the episode, and we were brainstorming having her come on for an ADHD episode, because her and I both have ADHD, but different kinds of ADHD. So we were saying we should write a book about ADHD, women in ADHD, and then we were like, oh, we could do a podcast episode. So we were brainstorming for that last night. And then Tess starts school tomorrow, which I'm grateful for, because it's a lot to work and watch your kid. I work from home. Jake also has the ability to work from home, and so we try and split the responsibility, but it will be nice to get back into the routine. But she had back to school night last night, and they always have some vendors come to back to school night and set up stuff. So it could be like karate or places, just different things like that. But last night they had this candle vendor there, so I wanted to give them a shout out. It's called Desert Liberties. It's going to be backwards, but Desert Liberties, they're hand poured here in Arizona, and it's a soy candle. And this one's called Mackay, but it reminded me of like a laundry room, like just like a fresh.
Yeah.
And she had another one, I think it was called Sonoran, that I really liked. I was debating between those two, but I was asking her, I'm like, how are you shipping these, like, and not melting? And she was telling me all about how she packages them to make sure that they don't melt. So if you want to go to her Instagram or her website, I'll see if I can find her Instagram so we can link it. She also had diffusers, car diffusers, reed diffusers, sprays, and some other things. So just wanted to give that small business a shout out. So today we're going to talk about Hilary Duff and her comeback tour. I wanted to talk about Hilary because I feel like she is so average, but like in the best way possible. Like, she doesn't feel larger than life. She doesn't feel untouchable. She has fine line tattoos like the rest of us. She's goofy. Her dancing isn't perfect. She is a mom, so she's packing lunches and going to soccer games, and she's just relatable. And I feel like Hilary's really mastered this idea of palpable relatability. Like, she's not Beyonce, she's not Taylor Swift, where she feels so inaccessible and so famous. I just feel like she is the type of person I want to be when I grow up.
Yeah.
So a little bit of her background and how she started. We're going to do a little deep dive into her history and how she's gotten to where she is in this point. She was born in 1987 in Houston, and she started acting as a child and had booked some local commercials. And Haley, I believe, was the one that first got into acting. So I believe Haley's older. And Hilary said, I always wanted to be like my older sister. When she learned to ride a bike, I had to as well. If she took ballet lessons, I wanted to do it too. I took singing lessons because she did. And it just got more intense and turned into careers for both of us. So as I'm reading this, I'm like, well, Sabrina's Hilary and I'm Haley. We have home videos of me being like, Dad, can I go play with Maria? And Seb comes running around the corner.
Me
and it's
too.
like, Dad, can I also go to Maria's house and play with? So not only in that sense of you wanted to like copy everything I did, but I'm the older sister and Sabrina's the one with like all the talent that like excelled at everything, which is annoying because as an older sibling, I feel like I should be better at stuff and you should be trying to catch up to me. But Seb has always been so athletically talented, always did so good in dance and tumbling and cheer and all that stuff. So as I'm reading this, I'm like, I'm Haley. you're Hilary.
Like the interview about how she doesn't talk to Haley right now.
No, I saw an interview that she was talking about how she had some family drama.
Yeah, she had like opened up, I forget whose podcast it was, but on a podcast, and she was just like, me and Haley don't talk right now. And she like kind of broke down about it, and it's just like, I didn't really talk about this very much, but as I started to open up about it, I realized how many people go through something like this, and it was just clips, so I didn't like get to hear why, or maybe she didn't talk about why, but yeah, hopefully we're not like that.
We'll see. If you get too good at a lot of things, I might.
I think I've peaked, so it's fine.
Seb will get more Instagram famous than me. It's fine. Gabby already told us.
I mean, is that what you're wanting?
No.
You want a business. You want
Yes.
other things.
But unfortunately, Instagram has to go like hand in hand with businesses these days, which is really frustrating. Yeah. Because I would love to just burn social media to the ground. Hilary, Haley. But we will hopefully still talk to each other in the future.
Yeah.
So their family moved to California to pursue acting, and Hilary got cast in Casper Meets Wendy, which I think was maybe the second Casper movie. And then a manager reached out to the family and said that Disney wanted to see Hilary for a role. So she walked in super unprepared for a monologue, and the casting director was like, can you come back more prepared tomorrow? Like kind of annoyed that Hilary showed up so unprepared. And she was like, yes, I'll come back. So she came back the next day, and she said she delivered it flawlessly, had practiced really hard on the monologue. And so she got a call back and had to go in front of the producers. And then they asked if she had any hidden talents, which again, this would have been Seb, but she started walking on her hands because she used to do gymnastics. And she said she was trying to just shock everybody, but ended up getting the job. And I thought that was funny because she does end up doing rhythmic gymnastics in one of the Lizzie McGuire episodes, if you remember. And I don't know if they had that set up before, and then once she did the walk on hands, they're like, oh, perfect, she's already a gymnast, or if it just came that way because she had the talent. So Lizzie McGuire premiered in 2001, and the movie came out in 2003, which grossed more than $55 million. And do you remember when this movie came out?
I remember when it came out, but I remember watching it.
I just feel like the movie was like, wow, this is what I want my life to be. To go to Italy, have a hot guy pick me out of the crowd.
Yeah, that's probably but one of the reasons why I was so boy crazy, because I was like, well, someday some boy's just gonna come up to me and think I'm so beautiful, and then I'm gonna go on stage with him. And I watched it with the girls like very recently, like probably a month ago, and I would be so appalled if my teenager did half of the things she did, like sneaking out with a boy, and she's supposed to be on this class trip. And then obviously if you like see your daughter on stage like singing and you're like, wow, I didn't expect that, you'd be like, she's a star. But at the same time, like, what the F? You're supposed to be with your school, and your school has no idea about this.
And she's only like 14.
Yeah, so young.
I remember being at Seven Peaks when I was like 14 and being like, I hope a boy like talks to me. And I'm in my one-piece swimsuit that's like so childlike. I'm just like a child still. But yeah, that was, getting swooped up by a boy, getting to go sing on stage and get all these fashion designer outfits, try on all these clothes. And
even the clothes that she wears like in the day-to-day. I think she wears heels or a platform or something, and all the jewelry that she has, like the way her hair is done. I'm like, I did not look like that at 14. Right. My hair was at best washed and like straightened. And that was it.
Yeah, and if you tried to like walk around with a purse or high heels, you felt like such an imposter.
Oh yeah. But I wanted to. I was like, I wish so badly I could just wear my heels out and about so that a boy will like me more.
But I mean, I feel like that is probably one of the reasons the movie was so successful, is because it just played out this dream scenario that all of us as these young tween girls would love to have happen to us, even though it's so unrealistic. And then after 65 episodes of Lizzie McGuire, it ended in 2004. Which do you remember the Lizzie McGuire video games or computer games?
Maybe a little bit.
So there was the nail painting one. And then there was like the one where you could dress them, and it would be, you'd pick like Lizzie or Miranda. And remember Miranda's outfits were always like crazy because she had like the spiky hair. Here's the nail painting one. So it was like 2 hands and you got to like pick the polish and paint the nails. And then there was the closet one where you got to pick their outfits. Disney Channel had a whole website and you could pick whichever show. So then Lizzie McGuire specifically had the nail painting and you got to pick the shirt and the pants and the shoes and the accessories.
See all those shoes. It's like little kitten heel flip-flops.
Platforms.
Platforms. And
yes, those were the good times. Okay, so then while she was doing Lizzie McGuire, she starred in Cadet Kelly. She starred in Agent Cody Banks. Do you remember that movie?
So good. I loved it.
Do you remember that was one of the first DVDs we ever owned as a family?
No.
One day our dad came home and he had a box that he'd just gotten in the mail and there was like 6 DVDs in it. One of them was Big Fat Liar and then Agent Cody Banks was another one, but they were the first DVDs we ever had.
That's funny. I don't remember that.
Cheaper by the Dozen. 2004 she did Cinderella Story.
Such a good one.
Very good one. Raise Your Voice. Did you ever see that one?
Like maybe once. I don't really remember it too much.
Raise Your Voice is the one where she like gets up in the middle of the class and has to start singing the scales. And she's like got her hands in her pocket and she's all nervous and then everyone's like, wow.
Most of the roles are like Cinderella Story, I feel like stood out because it was just, I don't know, iconic and different. I guess they're all kind of different, but like every time I see her, I'm like, it's the same. Like, I don't feel like she's the best actress ever. She's just like a good actress, but
that's what I mean by like she's average because she's not like, she's a good singer, but not like the best singer. She's a good dancer, but not the best dancer. She's a good actress, but not the best actress. And that's where I feel like she's so relatable.
Yeah.
And a lot of her roles are her kind of coming out of her shell, I guess, or like breaking through. And I feel like that's the common theme of her having this big breakthrough. So after Raise Your Voice, she tried to shift into more adult roles like The Perfect Man and Material Girls, which she had starred in with her sister Hilary Duff, but both got negative reviews. And then she starred in several shows like Gossip Girl.
Really?
Did you watch Gossip Girl?
But I don't remember her.
It's the 2nd or 3rd season when they go to NYU and her name's Olivia on the show. And she's Vanessa's roommate. And then she starts to date Dan. And then Vanessa starts plotting against her and Dan's relationship or something. And then Blair's involved in the whole storyline. But anyways, she's great on Gossip Girl. She's like a famous singer on Gossip Girl that comes to NYU and is just trying to live a normal college life, which may have been a portrayal of how she was really feeling at the time, being like caught up in the fame and wanting to just have a normal life. She starred in Younger. Did you ever see that? I think it's on Netflix right now. This came out in 2015 and it's a good show if you need a show to watch. There's 7 seasons, but it's about this lady who essentially took a parenting break and then tries to come back into the workforce after getting divorced. And everyone's like, you're 40, like you're too old. And so then she starts acting like she's actually 27 and she gets a job. And so then she has to play out this lie that she's younger than she actually is.
And that's Hilary or?
No, it's a different girl. Hilary is her coworker in it. And then 2022, she did How I Met Your Father, which got mixed reviews and was canceled after a year, but I loved How I Met Your Father. I was sad that it got canceled. Another fun one to watch. It's 1 or 2 seasons, I think, but I thought it was cute. So then as far as her music career goes, she had her first album through Disney, just doing like a Christmas album. And then she signed with Hollywood Records and did her album Metamorphosis, which had the songs So Clean. That's the one that we all know. Or sorry, Come Clean. And So Yesterday. And she had written songs with Haley on this album, and it went multi-platinum, which means it sold 1 million copies multiple times. In 2004, she had her self-titled album, which included Fly. That album went platinum. So, I mean, I feel like those are really big milestones for someone with a music career. 2005, her album Most Wanted. The song was called Wake Up. 2007, another album called Dignity. And then 2015, she released Breathe In, Breathe Out, and I did not recognize any of the songs on the album, and this was probably one of her least successful albums. In the early 2000s, there's a lot of pressure that came with fame. She talks about how paparazzi was so out of control. They would be like waiting outside her door just to see what underwear she had on that day, like just really weird stuff. I know Paris Hilton talks about the paparazzi a lot in the early 2000s as well. Just so much body shaming, impossible expectations. And of course, Hilary was painted as, the good girl that everyone wanted as a role model for their kids. Remember how Ashley has. Shout out to Ashley Ader, our cousin's wife. She got to go on stage and do the dance with Hilary. It's the With Love dance. Hilary was talking about this in a recent interview, like how, it's just blown up on TikTok. And this particular article described it as it's adorable for its lackluster energy. Because, like when she does it, it's just like so half-assed. But that's kind of, I think, the comedy of it, but also why people are so drawn to it. Like it became iconic. But Hilary talks about how at the time when she was 19 and doing the dance, everything in her life felt out of control at that point. She said, I didn't want to be there doing this dance. I didn't want to be doing it at all. And it probably didn't feel like a good time. And she said, I know people don't look at it like that. And so it's funny because that's how I used to look at it. So I love that this thing that probably represented a really hard time in her life. Like she probably wasn't trying as hard to perform that dance because she, was just so over it or whatever, and was probably a really painful moment for her to look back on. Now she's reclaiming it in her tour by having all the people come up on stage and do it with her, and everyone on TikTok's doing it. And so now it's turned into this fun and positive way to engage with fans. And I think it really ties into what her new album is all about. So the title of the new album is called Luck or Something. Luck ... or something. She said it's in response to a question that she gets asked often, which is how she navigated growing up in the spotlight. And she said luck had a hand in it, but the or something is her, Hilary, taking ownership of her life and how she got there. So I love that she didn't disappear. She just intentionally shifted her priorities for a few years because she had 4 kids. She first got married in 2010 to a hockey player named Mike Comrie. They had a son together named Luca Cruz, and their marriage ended in 2016. So they were married for 6 years. And then she married her current husband, Matthew, in 2019. And they have 3 kids. So Banks Violet Bear. I don't know if Bear's her last name or she has 2 middle names, but she was born in 2018. And then May James, which I think is such a cute name, was born in 2021. And then she had a son named Towns in 2024. And I think a lot of celebrities keep pushing, even like when they're having kids, because they want to stay relevant and they're afraid to become irrelevant and that the world's just going to forget about them. And I just love that Hilary was comfortable saying, I need to shift my priorities and my family is more important. And I think what she's taught us through this whole, comeback tour and everything is that you don't have to choose between being a great mom and pursuing your own dreams. She wasn't apologizing for taking a break. She was celebrating the fact that the break mattered, which I know can be really hard. I have personally had to go through a period of grieving my career when I decided to stay home with Tess. But at the same time, I am so grateful that I got to have that time to be with her when she was so young. And even though it was a really hard period of time and a lot of learning for me, I still am very grateful for those moments that I had. So she returned to music in 2025 and signed with Atlantic Records, and they're the ones who made her Luck or Something album. And her new album is about diving into the real parts of her life. She co-wrote a couple of the songs with her husband, and she told Rolling Stones, it was really important to me to not make a record that was I'm a mom and I pick up my kids at school and pack lunches every day and it's so hard. And it was not at all what I was interested in talking about. What I was interested in talking about was this shift in how it makes me feel as a person. And I resonate with that. I feel like that's the goal with Ader and the podcast. Kids is a part of it, but the bigger part of it is that we are our own people outside of being parents. But Hilary talks about how getting back into music, she had just kind of reached a point in her life where she was craving to stretch her creativity and find a way to connect with people. And so here's some of the lyrics from her new album talking about that. Give me some first times like we still got 'em. I'm worried I felt everything I'm ever going to feel.
I feel like that the creativity and connecting with people is something that a lot of new moms go through, especially because it's just like you have to have a routine with kids or it's just hard. Like, and inevitably you will have one, whether it's school or extracurricular activities or just maybe even like the breakfast, lunch, dinner of your life. Because before it was like, I'll skip breakfast today and it doesn't like matter to anyone because it's just me and I'm not hungry. But like you don't have that option when you have kids. And so it gets very routine and mundane. And so then I feel like a lot of people get to this point where they're like, how do I be creative? And I feel like that's why a lot of moms are influencers, because it is a way to like get their creative outlet. And then it also connects you with people. Like you're just looking for this community. And again, when you become a mom, it becomes so, not that you're necessarily like being reclusive. You could be, some people are, but it's just, you have to spend more time in your house to like tend for these kids that you have. Oh, and then where she's saying, I'm worried I've felt everything I'm ever going to feel. I feel that's just common with postpartum. There's studies that are coming out that are like, you don't fully recover from being postpartum for 7 years because of the minerals, hormones, you know, your body, everything. And so it's like just this change in everything going inside your body and then emotionally, and then your whole life changes. And it's like, oh my gosh, I have felt a lot, but was that it? Like, am I done now? So it's just very relatable for moms, because you're like, yes, I want that connection. I want that creativity. I want to feel alive again. I don't want this to just be it. And sometimes it's just a phase that you're in and you get out of it and you're like, a breath of fresh air. But sometimes you have to find it too.
When I was reading these lyrics, I'm worried I've felt everything I'm ever going to feel. Like that's kind of where I've been this year, because it's like we put so much time and energy and money into finishing our house here in Arizona. And we're at the point that we may only have one kid. And we've been married for 10 years, like a solid amount of time. And I just remember like standing there one day and being like, is this it? Because, you know, we've talked about like this will be our forever home. And so I feel I just rushed to the finish line, because growing up, that's all I wanted was the white picket fence and the dog and the husband and the kids. And so I rushed really quickly to get there. And it's like, okay, we're here. And so now I'm like, is this it? Like, that's all I'm ever going to feel. And I mean, there's things I look forward to. I still haven't even decorated in this house for our first Halloween or Christmas, because we were remodeling last year. So I didn't really pull out decorations, and I have things to look forward to. But I think that's one of the reasons I get such conflicting thoughts all the time, because it's this feeling of wanting to feel something new, wanting to feel alive, wanting to have those new experiences. But then you're so wrapped up and caught up in the mundane routine of things. So I love that this album and what she's doing with it is just an honest look that I think so many of us go through, and we don't necessarily have the verbiage for it, but just this fear that adulthood can become predictable. And like I said, once I've settled into my marriage and motherhood and my career and all the responsibilities, then there's no more firsts of things. And it's not because you don't love the life you've built. Two things can be true at the same time, but maybe you just miss discovering new parts of yourself. And I don't think these songs are about wanting your old life back or going back to your younger self, but they're about wanting to believe that there's still new chapters ahead to create, and that becoming a mom or getting married, like that doesn't end who you are as a person, and you can still become something new. There's new dreams to chase and new parts of yourself to discover and new versions of yourself to become. I think that's why her comeback has resonated deeply with so many millennial moms. Not because we want to be 22 again, but because it's like a reminder that our story doesn't end when we become mothers, and we can still evolve and take risks. And it's not our entire identity. It's just one chapter in a much bigger story. So millennials who have followed her back in 2004, I was in 4th grade. You were in second?
Second, third.
Yeah. But one of the things she talked about on her Lizzie McGuire days was she feels like she didn't get enough credit for how big of a outreach Lizzie McGuire had. Like it wasn't just tweens, it was kids, it was adults in college. And so she had a really expansive audience. So back in 2004, we're in elementary school, people are in middle school, they're having their first crushes, just lots of development and firsts in people's lives. And now in 2026, we've got toddlers, we're doing elementary drop off, we have mortgages, we have careers and marriages, and we're still singing the same songs that we were singing back in 2004, but now we're all different people. And I think that's why her concert can feel emotional for some people, because they're kind of grieving who they were as kids, but also celebrating who they've become. And it's both a nostalgia trip and a reflection growing up alongside Hilary. So just a few thoughts that I had before we wrap this up. A pause isn't a failure. Sometimes it's just a different season of life, and that's the best thing for you right then. And it's something to be celebrated. Like, yes, taking a break in your career, I've been through that, and that can be really hard to let go of, but getting to spend that time with your child is also something to be celebrated. And it could be the other way. It could be grieving the idea that you don't get to stay home with your baby all the time, but celebrating the fact that you get to continue to grow and expand your career. Like, it doesn't just go one way. Our dreams don't expire when we become parents. We should continue learning and growing and trying to become these new versions of ourselves. And I say become a new version of yourself because this is something I've been thinking a lot about for the podcast, of how we want you to have an identity outside of motherhood. That does not mean going back to the same person that you were before you became a mom, because becoming a mom changes everything about you, and you have to rediscover and rebuild who this person is. And sometimes that second go around is better than the first. I know I'm a completely different person than I was before I had Tess, and I'm so grateful for it. And I think lastly, it's beneficial for your children to see you pursue something that you're passionate about, that does bring you connection, that does give you a creative outlet and provides meaning to your life. Did you ever put part of yourself on pause to become a parent?
My career that I chose made me, there's a part of me that's like, I want to be a baker. I would love to be an esthetician or something, like completely different field. And because of the career I chose, I was like, well, why would I give up the money that I'm making and could potentially make to go make a lot less money for potentially more work? But like, becoming a parent didn't necessarily change that. If anything, it makes me want to pursue the other options more, because there's potentially more flexibility, or it could be less serious. But because of the job that I have and the time that it was, like COVID, when I became a parent, everyone was working from home anyway. So it was like, we just had to figure out how to do that. So yeah, not necessarily because of becoming a parent.
But you probably didn't have all the same energy. Like, you only have so much energy you can give to your job, so much energy you can give to your kids, so much energy you can give to your spouse. So maybe some of those areas had to be sacrificed, where, you're not fully paying attention to work because you're trying to focus on your kid.
Which in my eyes, I'm like, it makes you realize what you want to spend your energy on. And I don't necessarily feel like, yeah, I probably am spending less energy on work, but as we should, in my opinion. I'm like, work is so, in some people's minds, just like this almighty thing. And it's like, you should be grinding right now. And like, that's what your energy should go towards. And then later you can like relax and enjoy life. And I just don't view it that way. Like, why would you put life on pause for your career when right now is when you have all your energy? You don't have physical ailments of getting old. Like, why would I wait to retire to have all this fun? Especially because at that point, like, your kids are grown up and out of the house. So it's like, I'd rather just put in a minimum amount of energy. Hopefully none of my coworkers listen to this.
Well, it's funny because I talked to my friend Rachel about this, and we're like, our 10% of effort is probably everybody else's 100%. So putting in less energy doesn't necessarily mean a bad thing. I know there's times I sit and work till midnight and I burn myself out, and then I have to go 3 days to recoup. And so it's like, if I had just cut myself off at 5, saved it for the next morning, then I could continue at a more sustainable pace rather than just dumping everything into it and burning myself out.
Yeah, and it also just depends on the type of worker you are. Like, I know there's some people who are just like slow with computers. I have worked with people who use instead of having a mouse, they use like their trackpad and then they'll like type with pointer fingers. And I'm like, okay, so the amount of time that it took you to type that email, I could have done it in 5 minutes and it took you 30 minutes. So everything you're doing, I can do in less time. Does that mean I should be working more? And then there's always this talk, especially at my work, of like in office versus at home. And when you're in office, sure, there's, seeing people face to face and it is helpful to build relationships. But there are so many times where I'll just like sit and chat with someone for an hour and
You don't get any work done.
right. I'm like, if I was at home, that would have never happened. I could have sat and played with my kids for an hour, but the people who push in office don't necessarily think about that. It's just like got such a negative light when you're at home, but you're doing the same, like goofing off, dicking around at work too.
You said dickin'.
That's what it is. You said ass though.
I did. I let my kids swear. Yeah, that's what I feel like my friend Rachel is alluding to, of like we can, get so much done, or worse, it takes someone 30 minutes to send the email.
Yeah.
But even being in the office, you start doing something and then someone pulls you away. And then it's like kind of when you have to go back and reread the book and you spend so much time like, wait, what did I just read? And you have to catch back up.
Yeah.
So what dream would you revisit if fear wasn't part of the equation? Would you do baking or esthetician or anything else?
Probably. I think a home bakery stand would be so fun to have. I don't think a storefront, maybe one day, would be what I would want, because I'm just like, at this point, I just want chill, relaxing, like, oh, we'll do one stock a week and, whatever sells. But I don't necessarily have to be waking up at 2 a.m. every day to get the bakery open. Sometimes I think about like massage therapy could be so fun. I don't know, even like a Pilates instructor. There's just so many things that I'm like, I could be good at this and it would be so fun to do. But then would it take out the fun? Like, I like going to Pilates and taking a class that I don't have to think about what I'm doing. And so then if I were like a Pilates instructor, would it be like I need to build that into my lessons?
I don't know if it's social media that's made it that way, but it's like we can't just have hobbies. They have to be like a career or a way we make money, where I have to remind myself like it's okay if I just have a hobby of doing this and I don't have to make money off of it.
Yeah, it could just be a thing that we do every once in a while.
Yeah. We're allowed to try and find joy. I don't know if there's really any dreams I would revisit per se.
I don't know that I necessarily even dreamt of like being a baker or anything. Like, it's not something that I'm revisiting. It's just something new that has come up in recent years. But even like doing nails, there's so many things that I like have thought about. But again, it's like, do I actually want to do that? My back is already in such a bad position. If I was hunching over like doing nails all day, it'd probably be way worse.
I guess one other dream I would probably revisit, and it wasn't necessarily fear, but I talked about this last week. It was my capacity of energy. But if I could go back and have another kid like a few years ago, if I had that bigger capacity, maybe that would be something, but I wouldn't have gotten to the place of having enough capacity until very recently. Can motherhood expand your identity instead of replacing it?
I feel like that's exactly what it does. You're still who you were before, but now you have more insight, more sympathy or empathy. You have more just like a different understanding. And so there's no way you can just replace it, because the old you is still there. It's just different.
But I do think people become mothers and then like, that's it.
Yeah.
Like, I'm a mom. I don't prioritize friendships. I don't prioritize myself. Like, I stop working out. I have too much, to do with the kids. Like, it just becomes, which it's very demanding. So it's understandably so.
Yeah.
But it just becomes people's entire identity of like, I'm a mom.
Yeah.
And that's what I do.
Yeah. But I think at some point that also has to die, like you being a mom and only a mom, because your kids move out eventually. So whether you realize it early on and you're like, well, I'm going to like fill my cup outside of motherhood still and connect with friends and connect with, whatever, it's going to be forced on you because your kids will move out, which I know a lot of women, at least older women, have said, like, my kids moved out and I was like,
who am I?
Yeah, what do I do now? What's my purpose in life?
All right. Well, Hilary Duff didn't go back to the girl that she was when she first started out. She also became someone new. And maybe that's what so many of us need to hear, that motherhood isn't supposed to preserve who we are, but it's meant to transform us into this new version of ourselves. The goal isn't to get back our old life, but to build a new one that makes room for every version of ourselves. Thanks for joining us today and tuning in to listen to our Hilary deep dive. And we'll see you later, Aiders.
Later, eaters.